And welcome to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys, for another video. And today, of course, we are going to be discussing Philippe Coutinho and the way that he'll be fitting in to the Barcelona setup under Ernesto Valverde. And the beauty of Valverde this season has really been how versatile he's been in terms of his formations, his selections, and also the different variations he's had on the 4-3-3 and also the 4-4-2 formation. And that's why today we're going to be looking at Philippe Coutinho, where exactly he fits in Barcelona and how Valverde will incorporate him into the different systems that we've used this season. Now, obviously, Philippe Coutinho has joined for a lot of money. We want to get the absolute best out of him. We want him to play as much as possible, but he will not be eligible to play in the UEFA Champions League this season. Until the end of the season, he'll be cup-tied. He's already played in it with Liverpool, meaning he will not be able to play for Barcelona this season. So the majority of the time, we'll be seeing Coutinho in the league and also the Copa del Rey until the end of the season, when next season, of course, we'll incorporate him into all competitions and he'll be used, I'm sure, on all fronts. But most of the time, in these lineups that you're going to see today, I've got 4 different formations to show you guys and a lot of different variations on those formations. But a lot of the time, of course, we're not really going to be seeing Iniesta and Coutinho in the same lineup right now, I don't think. We might see it 1 or 2 times, 3 or 4. Maybe Valverde will use them more than expected. But most of the time for me, Coutinho is going to be used in the league where we need to rest Iniesta, where we need to keep him preserved for the big Champions League games. And that's where Coutinho comes in. Coutinho's definitely seen as almost the heir to Iniesta. I'm not saying, they're exactly the same type of players. What I'm saying is we need a creative player after Iniesta, and Coutinho and his characteristics and his attributes certainly match that tag. So we are going to kick right off with the 4-4-2, and the reason I do that is because Valverde has used this system right throughout this season so far, and most in particular without Ousmane Dembele. And of course Dembele is going to be out injured for another month right now. He's got a new injury and he's going to be out for around 3 to 4 weeks time. So what I've done is I've included Dembele in the later lineups you're going to see, but right now is the 4-4-2 without Dembele and how Valverde can incorporate Coutinho into that team once he comes back expectedly at the end of this month. So as you can see here, we've got Ter Stegen in goal, we've got the back 4 as we know it. Now that back 4 could be anything at all. I'm not saying Vermaelen should be dropped, but right now Umtiti, Piqué, Roberto and Alba. I think Roberto right now is certainly seen as the first choice right back. Whether that will continue, we'll have to wait and see. But then look, I've got Coutinho on the left of midfield alongside Busquets and Rakitic in the centre. Now here I've decided to put Gomez in that right midfield role. Now he's not really accustomed to playing in that role, but we have seen it a few times this season under Valverde. He does like to use his centre midfielders wide. That could be Paulinho. You can see here in this variation, I think this is quite interesting, to use Roberto in that right wing position with Semedo behind him. In a big game, that could be a really, really effective right side, not only going forward, but also defensively. I think that's really solid. And you can see here Coutinho on that left-hand side. And what he'll be able to give you from that left-hand side is, of course, a lot of creativity. He's going to create chances. He's going to create opportunities for Messi and Suarez up front, because that's what you need in this 4-4-2 formation. At times, it's very, very solid. It's really, really rigid, particularly when defending. It can be very, very structured indeed. But going forward at times with the 4-4-2, especially away from home in tough stadiums, it is difficult to create those chances with this flat 4-4-2. That's what Coutinho would provide for you there. On that left-hand side, that element of creativity, that element of maybe going past 1 or 2 players, creating a chance out of nothing. And that's definitely the kind of thing you need in this kind of system. And while we're on the subject of Coutinho on that left-hand side playing a wider role, it is so important, that we've seen so far this season, that Coutinho establishes a relationship very, very quickly with Jordi Alba, because that's for me what we've really picked up on this season. Even though we've lost Neymar, it's been a massive, massive positive what that left side has done for Jordi Alba. He has had a lot of freedom down that left-hand side to go on, to make runs in behind, to show us a lot of pace, keep his width, and he's done all those things incredibly well. We've seen him so far this season combining with Messi absolutely wonderfully, and that's why it's so important that Coutinho combines well with Alba on that left-hand side and they have a good understanding. But I think that's the really good thing about Philippe Coutinho. He's not really a traditional winger. He's not somebody who's going to stay wide all of the time, and that's why I think he could work really well with Alba, because if you play Coutinho on that left-hand side, and exactly the same thing applies when you're talking about a kind of 4-3-3 in this kind of style, when you've got Coutinho on that left-hand side, he will come inside more often than not, which is absolutely perfect for Jordi Alba, because Jordi Alba will have a load of space on that left-hand side. When Coutinho goes inside, he's going to drag that right back inside with him, leaving Alba to expose that space down the left-hand side. And that's exactly what you want with Jordi Alba. You want him to have that space, that freedom, because he's got so much pace, so much quality, and he's got a really good understanding of the game as well. He doesn't really get a lot of credit for that, but he really, really has. He makes very intelligent runs, and that's why I think Coutinho is a very good acquisition for this side. He can cut in, he can link up then with Messi and Suarez inside, he can then, be the link between midfield and attack, he can drop in between the lines, and all the while still giving Alba that freedom, because we've seen it with Neymar, on the left-hand side, and that's why Jordi Alba's performances in the last year or so, 2 years, have dropped significantly, because Neymar was on that left-hand side and he was taking all of Alba's space. When Neymar would receive the ball, there's no doubt about it, Neymar produced some absolutely magnificent moments. I'm not taking anything away from him there, but what he did do, he got the ball, he would delay it, he would slow the play down, he would sort of keep very stationary, he wouldn't always be on the move, he wouldn't try and be worried about creating space for anybody else. Neymar's priority always was getting past his own man, and he didn't really spare any thought for Jordi Alba. I think Coutinho is a very, very different player. He'll certainly be happy to come inside, and he'll certainly work well, I think, on that left-hand side with Jordi Alba, which would be a massive, massive positive for the team. And when I brought you onto these 4-3-3 formations, you can see already this is a particular instance where possibly you could use Iniesta and Coutinho together. And this would be a very interesting formation. You've got Iniesta, Rakitic and Busquets in midfield, very much a settled trio. They've got a good balance there between defence and attack, three players who are highly experienced. And then the front three, as we've seen it over many, many years, actually Messi on the right, Suarez down the middle, and Coutinho occupying that left-hand side. Now, I've put Messi on the right-hand side there. We know this season that he's been playing much more of a false nine role, but the problem is I think Coutinho isn't really suited to the right. Obviously, Dembele to come back as well, so Coutinho won't always be playing in the front three, especially when Dembele's back fit. But while he's not fit, I think it'd be interesting to see a sort of flexible front three, whereas Messi could be on the right, but he could be in the centre. You'd see Suarez start the game in the middle, but you know that it can be flexible and he can go out to the right or the left. And Coutinho, like I say, he could drop back in midfield, he could be the link between midfield and attack, and he could play between the lines, and I just think that would be a really good flexible front three. Suarez, Messi and Coutinho all in tandem, all combining, could be very, very dangerous indeed. All the while, Alba's getting down that left, Roberto's getting down that right, and that's another thing. You play Messi on that right-hand side, you know that he's not going to stay there, he's going to come inside, he's going to drag the left back the same as Coutinho will, and all the while giving our fullbacks really good opportunities to create chances for the team when they go forward. And here I want to show you what it could potentially look like when Dembele is back in the team, when maybe we've rested Iniesta for them. This would be Coutinho in a more deeper role, in a midfield role, in the trio. And this has always been the big question with Coutinho. Is he going to settle into this sort of midfield three combination? Is he going to be able to play as an interior in that midfield? That is the big question for me. Suarez here on the left of the three, Messi in the middle, Dembele to the right. A very, very impressive front three there. But Coutinho is the perfect link. If he can get going in that midfield area, he can provide the ultimate creativity for those three players. But what Coutinho also has to learn is the tactical intelligence you need in that kind of area, simply because Iniesta is not just a good creative player. That's of course what he gets all the credit for, but he's very, very good tactically. He knows where he's got to be, he understands the defensive responsibility he has, he knows about creating space, he knows about his positioning, and most importantly as well, Iniesta always knows where he needs to be to receive the ball from Busquets, from the defence. He can receive it in tight spaces, and I think Coutinho could certainly excel in that area of the game, but it's simply a case of him learning that position, understanding the Barcelona way, and of course that will take time, but he's certainly the player who's got the characteristics to pull all of those things off in that midfield position, in a slightly deeper role, but he can still be very effective. And I was looking at the formations this morning, and I was having a little look where Coutinho could fit in, and I think this is a very, very interesting option for Ernesto Valverde when maybe he wants to be a little bit cautious, but he also wants that kind of element of real pace, real quality, real creativity on the counter-attack, and trying to get in behind teams and creating chances, and of course, scoring goals. I just want to have a look at this here. You've got Busquets in the holding role, Iniesta and Rakitic, and once again, this is an instance where perhaps Iniesta and Coutinho could play together, but I would love to see Coutinho at the top of that diamond. We've seen it quite a few times this season. Ernesto Valverde has used Paulinho in that kind of role. He's pushed him really high up the pitch, he's made him make runs in behind, he's made him combine with Messi and Suarez, and those three have been a really good combination. Paulinho doing a lot of offensive work, and the three behind him have been covering for him in the defensive third. And the most important thing here is what Coutinho could give in that Paulinho role. He's certainly the player who could create chances. I think he could link up very well with Messi and Suarez given time. We've already seen his relationship with Suarez in his Liverpool days to be very, very good, and I would love to see Coutinho in this role, because not only is it, given chances to create things, but it also gets him closer to the goal. And you've seen Paulinho taking a lot of long-range efforts. He's had some good success this season in front of goals, scoring goals, and I would love to see Coutinho getting that kind of space, having shots from range, because from range he is absolutely lethal. And Coutinho is not only somebody who's going to create goals, he is going to score goals as well. And I think in this sort of number 10 position, just behind the two forwards, getting a lot more forward, a lot closer to the box and a lot closer to the goal, he could really be effective in front of goal from range, and also in terms of providing chances for Messi and Suarez without having to worry really about that defensive responsibility that I spoke about when you're playing in that midfield three. So that could be a really interesting option too. Without Dembele, when we're having to play a bit more narrow, when we haven't got that quality out wide, this would be a much more narrow formation. Coutinho at the point of the diamond, and then once again you've got Alba and Roberto occupying the empty flanks, giving us that width that we need. And the final formation that I will give you today, guys, is one that I think we can deploy in some games, but we certainly will not be able to use this formation in the games against quality opposition because we would get absolutely destroyed in the midfield areas. You might be able to use this formation against very lower league opposition in La Liga, at home perhaps, when you're going to dominate the ball, when you're going to dominate the pitch territorially. Then you might be able to use this very, very attack-minded formation, but it will not be that often because, like I say, the midfield in this formation is very, very light indeed. Alba, Umtiti, Piqué, Roberto, that's fine, but then you've got sort of Busquets and Rakitic almost in a double pivot in midfield, two players who are more defensive-minded, who are going to stay back, who are not really going to go too far away from the defence. They're going to make sure they're anchoring midfield there, and in front of them, the absolutely devastating attack of these four players. Coutinho wide left, Dembele wide right, Luis Suarez playing that space that he loves up front as the central striker, and then Lionel Messi given that licence in behind to roam and do as he pleases and create and score goals like we know that he can from that kind of number 10 position. And I think this formation is obviously very exciting. It's very, very good in terms of the quality we've got in those forward areas, but like I say, we would have to exercise caution because this is a very, very attack-minded lineup, something that we wouldn't be able to use that often, but I just wanted to show it to you guys because in some games it might be possible, especially as well maybe in games where we're chasing it, we want to try and get the game back in our favour, get some goals back, maybe a comeback of some sort. We've had those before, but we could maybe use this at some point in the coming season and beyond. So that's basically all the formations and all the systems that I think Coutinho could slot into. He's certainly a versatile player, somebody who can play wide, somebody who can play in the midfield area as well, and somebody who can create and both score goals. So he could be a very, very important player. He's obviously a huge signing for the club, and we're going to be very, very interested to see in the coming days and weeks. He should recover at the end of the month, and then we're going to see how Ernesto Valverde is going to fit him in to the Barcelona system. So leave all your thoughts down below, guys. I'm really excited to see where you see Coutinho fitting, what kind of formations you think we should be using without Dembele, and then when Dembele's back, where do you see Coutinho fitting in the very big games? Does he play? If he does, who does he replace? And how often are we going to see Coutinho in the Barca lineup in the coming season? So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. As always, very excited to see what you guys have to say. Thank you, as always, for your unbelievable support and for waiting for this video. I really do appreciate that. Lots more videos on the way, of course. I'll have the preview for the Real Betis game coming up tomorrow. That game will be on Sunday evening. So lots to look forward to right now on the channel, guys, and I'll be here for it all to share it with you. Thank you, as always. I'll see you soon. But until then, as always, Visca el Barça. Barça, Barça, Barça.